It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent his messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose. But by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, the path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness. By giving will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees, that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but we star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 67th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. It's Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. This is a publication of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, Public Education in English. And my name's Rick Cram, and I'll be your host today. And as usual, in the last series of these workshops, we're joined with Carolina Keshe from the Keshe Foundation, and I think she's ready to begin today's session. Is that true, Carolina?
Yes. Thank you, Rick. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome. As usual, we advise you strongly to have a nice cup of coffee or a cup of tea, a comfortable chair, because we're going to start with a beautiful entry, which I posted in the chat room. I do not know if Flint managed to get the totality of it. I sent it to... There. Ah, yeah. Would you be so kind? Do you have access to it, or bring it to the screen?
Yes,
I
I'll
can.
get it to Rick here.
You could put that in the. Do you want that in the public wish document?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are you putting it in there, Flint, or how are you doing it?
One moment here.
Or should I just copy it out of the chat and put it in?
Sure.
Okay.
You'll have to fix the paragraphs there, probably.
Yes, just a minute here while I get this set up. Okay, so we got a second part here.
I put the whole thing together in our other Zoom chat. You can get it from.
Right, I think I have it all together here. It's just you have to break it into paragraphs or something. Let's break it up a little bit here. Okay, where can we break it?
Yeah, right there after way, you will create a new.
New reality, higher field strength, you mean, there? Out of your way. Okay, I see. Okay, we're getting there. I think we're pretty close now. We'll have to maybe clean up a couple things as we go along, but
The date, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
19th.
Oh, yes. I need to put the glasses on here. Okay.
Or you're one day behind.
Well, I am anyway. I'm at the tail end of the time clock, it seems, but how did that go bold?
Magic.
There's ghosts in my document.
You can blow them away.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to read this, Carolina, or how do you want to present this?
You are Flint. Fine by me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. This is from Carolina, February 19th, 2019. You are the creator. Try not to get diverted, what is or what was. Create a new reality slowly, exactly how you want it to be. And don't get distracted. Just create in your vision, your creation, and slowly build it up in full trust. Avoid anything anywhere else. Concentrate to what exactly you want. Slowly, including the people around you, and hold on to this path by paying attention what isn't yet in place, and adjust your attention slowly to change everything into beauty. Support your creation. You create through this a higher frequency and higher field strength, and all that was will slowly disappear in a new state and of a higher field strength and of a higher field strength. But do not get distracted in your path by nothing. Go totally blank towards any print or news from anywhere. You are the creator of your reality. So your mind needs to go silent to work through the fields. You start generating from your field strength within you as a creator, but keep your surroundings very clean and high in energy frequency. You can use Ganses and Magravs, etc. You can use, I think that's repeated there. You can use Ganses and Magravs, etc. to keep the surrounding clean. Keep all your disturbing news out of your way. You will create a new reality, your new reality, and in higher field strength. And through this process, you keep adding new field strengths. So you remove any negative or any lower frequency, because simply they can't come or reach your field strength of the new positioning through your creation. Best regards, Carolina Keshe. Through love, you are beautiful creators. Very nice, Carolina. I am present.
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 I'm present.
I am present.
I am present.
I thought it was nice to bring it on the table today. Hello?
We had a microphone open there. I think it's closed now.
Because
wait for me. I am present.
But always at the end. Thank you very much, Jello. Okay, carry on, Carolina.
No, it's nice that the adding wants to be added and it gets added. It is actually something I posted 2 or 3 years ago. And Facebook has a very nice system that they remind you what you posted 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And then you open it up and you're the only one who can see it. So you can decide what to do with it. And I had quite a few like this in the last few weeks. And, you know, I don't believe in coincidence. They're coming up for a reason. And when I opened this one this morning, I thought this is very nice because it relates to the topic which came into our private classes, that people don't know how to break the wall with reality. They keep on going into circles and they think through their wishing and through what they have understood that they're going to find that door out of like a vicious circle. And I said in so many ways, as Mr. Keshe said, you can be in the class, but that doesn't mean that you have understood everything, because sometimes it's just words. You can't connect certain things with certain ways to work with it. So you understand what the words are, but you have no way of, or shape or form to apply them that they can start working. And somebody came with a story and I said, this is one point which I would love to bring back on Tuesday, although we have gone quite a few times over it, but somehow, somewhere, people are missing a point. And that is, when you work with wishes, when you work with your life, you have to remove and make sure that nothing is within that wish that you do not want. So you see in your environment, family, like let's say a repetitive behavior of from grandparents or parents or cousins or nieces, brothers or sisters, that they are copying a same pattern of behavior. But it is you who is confronted with it. And then you start wishing and wishing for that they will be different, they will be this or they will be that. And I said, try to give me more information exactly. But it's very difficult because they are not respecting their women, or they always run into fights with, or they have, you know, violent behavior towards women or children. And then the person which is involved or connected with the Keshe Foundation, you, from your point of position, you recognize that this is not in order and you want that to be changed. Even from when you're even before Keshe Foundation, you have that sense of, you know, this is not right. So you start working with wishing and creating. But then when you open the way the wishes are getting done, you are literally making a new copy of what is already there. And a lot of people seem to have a very hard time, and I keep on stopping people in a gentle way to understand, if you make a wish, you have to position yourself that you do not put nothing of what is within your vision and your wish. And this text in so many ways explain it. You got to create a blank new sheet or vision, and within that you have to put what you want, how you want it to be. So you can never refer to anything which is what you don't want. Otherwise you keep on adding again what you really don't want there to appear or to carry on. And if there are more knowledge seekers that don't understand, please step forward. We can work it out in examples that the wishes stop becoming like a vicious circle to go back to you and they don't end up where you want them to be. It's because you have missing ingredients and you do not replace what should be. And it's a trick. You think because you know the problem that you have to add that problem within your wish, and that is exactly what you cannot do. Because then you recreate the same problem or the same condition. That's why I wanted to make sure if we make wishes today, that we keep this in mind, and we never get tired of guiding and adjusting and explaining, because it's not an easy process. But that's exactly where the catch sits within your own life, within your own environment. You are the one which is the magnet. And you got to realize, as Rick showed before, if you put your finger on that magnet, all the others are repositioning themselves. So it is you who construct what you see outside you. It's you who's constructing and being part of that, what you're manifesting. Whatever words you want to use to make it easier, you are creating. Always go back to that. Maybe even put a few magnets on the table and color one which you decide that this is you. Now, every time you're going to move, the others will reposition themselves. But if you go with the same content with your finger on that magnet, then the same thing will reappear in your surroundings. That's why when you go with your finger on that magnet, you have to have a visual, distinguished view of how you exactly want to have it created, because that's where you're going to manifest it in whatever is moving around you. You can start very close with you and then see how it works. With our bigger wishes, we have received confirmation, although we do not see the length of the field we are sending out. But we have initiated the starting process of it. I keep on reminding so many knowledge seekers, all the changes you have become aware of, the changes you have seen, you're part of it because you come into the teachings, you come into the public platforms, you're there, you're adding your field strength. So you are part of that change in the same direction of the Keshe Foundation. And you're supporting it by your presence, by taking active action and confirming, I am present. You change, although you can't follow the field strength where it's flowing, but within 1 or 2 weeks, we start seeing, we start receiving small information. This has changed, that has changed, but never forget, we are working all together. We cannot do it by ourselves alone. We can achieve a lot. But as we are part of a foundation, there are thousands and thousands of people which go back, listen later on to what we have done, go later in the classes which they have missed, or new people which are walking in and they agree with what we are working on and you receive their field strength. Although it might be weeks, months, even a year, 2 years later. But because they agree with the platform you have created together, it changes. It receives that field to go more in strength towards what we are aiming for. And I would love the knowledge seekers, if they still have not the full understanding of how to exclude or what to include in a wish, please bring it on the platform. It will be a pleasure for us to share, to help support your wish, even if it's a personal wish. Last week, I asked in the request of Mr. Keshe for the people which have no access, which are not working on that higher platform of direct contact with ministers, or they notice, they know where they are, they have seen what's going around, they see where the suffering is, to bring it on the table for the Keshe Foundation to be able to embrace it, the council members to embrace it, the core team, the Earth Council, because there might be situations that we are not aware of. So if you bring them to our attention, doesn't matter in which language you are present today, we will find or try to find a translator to make sure it can go into your language. So you always stand for your language you're presenting. It doesn't matter you're a knowledge seeker, your voice counts for us, and your knowledge and your information is very valuable, because then we can work as a team, as a foundation, to steer it in the direction where it needs its attention. And through making a wish, we open the door for the flow, for the change in the positive way to reach where the point you are pointing at us, which maybe today we are not so much aware of. So I invite again the knowledge seekers to come forward to share what you have noticed, what you want us to pay attention to. And I've seen that Dr. Gatwa has come in as well. And I think he has finished most probably the presentation of the wish with the pictures in the agriculture side. Has it been finished, Dr. Gatwa?
Hello, Carolina. I think Mospec has a copy of what we wrote last time. And he wrote his part and I wrote my part. And that should be complete. And we can work on it to make it better and edit. Thank you. Mospec, do you have that copy?
Yes, I have. Let me log in from my computer. I can share it from there.
Thank you.
Let me add something. I think let's start with Gatwa's version. And I think Pia has another version, which is also a good one to look at. So after we are done with that, perhaps Pia can come in as well. And so we talked quite a bit about this, and Gatwa's version is very short, so it's actually very useful for even as a something what is in business called elevator speech, like you are going to a meeting or going somewhere and or with some friends, you can use it for like opening even conversations. It's very nice. I really liked it for that reason. So anyway, let me get to it and we can all look at it.
Hello, anybody there?
Yes, we're just having a minute of silence while Moshfek gets his documents ready. But it doesn't have to be a minute of silence, just by coincidence.
It was extremely silent.
I was looking for another document. So.
I was getting worried if I was kicked out. So, any news, Rick? You have noticed anything that we have to pay attention to as we are waiting?
Well, I was going to just mention that we talked about Yemen quite a bit in this group, and put many wishes toward a lasting peace there. And I do see that the conflicting groups are getting together and agreeing to stop the violence in at least some areas of that country. And they seem to be working toward some kind of solutions to enable everyone to get along there. So this is big news, and there also seems to be a worldwide sort of, you can feel that there's a worldwide wish for this to happen now. In the past, it seemed like it was ignored, but now it seemed to have come to the attention of those who are in power, and they seem to mostly agree that it would be a good idea to have peace in that area. So this is fairly big news, I think. And that's, it's hard to make a direct correlation that our wishes changed the things in the world, but you can definitely see that huge changes happened during the last month or two of worldwide action, and we definitely had the wishes before that. So draw your own conclusions, but to me, it is definitely a positive feedback. Perhaps we did create a new reality through our higher field strength.
Yep. And also, if something very beautiful has started happening between India and Pakistan. Something got disturbed there, and they're going to sort it out by dialogue. So that's also good news.
Yes, there's actually some strange peace relationships that are undergoing recently with China and Iran have renewed their agreements, and they seem to want to interact with the countries that they already have alliances with, to sort of bring everyone together instead of with conflict, with dialogue and with understanding. So this is actually a big development in the world. It's interesting. It's caused a bit of a separation in a way, with the US on one side and China and other countries on the other, and so on. But it's all part of it all coming together eventually. And it's quite interesting to see how these alliances are setting themselves up, and people, ones that you would never think would be friends, or countries you wouldn't think would be friends, are suddenly befriending each other. And so this is, I mean, even the US and North Korea is a great example. They're getting together, I think it's in a couple of weeks here, for more talks about the nuclear disarmament and so on. So it's very interesting times we live in. Any change at all seems possible at this point. Maybe even world peace. Okay, so let's look at the document here. Mashfek, you're going to control it here, and we're not hearing your microphone if you think you're speaking.
Yeah, I will do the editing if necessary. So Gatwa, do you want to go ahead and talk about it? Gatwa, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we're not hearing you there, Gatwa. I think your microphone is muted, so. Okay, so do you want to carry on, Mashfek, or? Not hearing your microphone, or?
Okay, so
There you are.
all right, let me try to make it bigger. Is it getting bigger? I don't see it getting bigger.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Some of the print's cut off on the right-hand side there, so if you can either, there we go. Beautiful.
I think, okay. Okay. All right. I see Gatwa now. So Gatwa, do you want to talk about it or go through it? And I'll make the changes if necessary.
Yes, thank you very much, Mosfek. I have problems with the internet, but usually it stabilizes, and that's fine. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you all right.
Okay, in fact, I wanted to change one word here. Let me read it aloud, and then we can change a little bit.
All right.
The Universal Council and the Keshe Foundation have good news for world agriculture. We seek cooperation from all governments and agriculture ministries across the world to work with us. And this is where I need change. I had written in bringing about, but about somehow disappeared. So I'm thinking of using realizing. In realizing national and global food security through plasma agricultural practices that improve yields, nutrition, and incomes without need for costly external inputs. I have this should be 5 bullets, but I'll explain. Plasma science agriculture achievements, and I intend this to be like a flyer, 1 page, and then at the bottom it can be very colorful with who we are. A part that I saw in your document, MOSFET. The Keshe Foundation is ABC, blah, blah, blah. And this can be a very straightforward appeal to world governments. So I suggested we only have 5 bullets. So there's one that became 2 here, and is the second one. I wrote, no need for any chemical agriculture inputs, dash, to show the, and I'm continuing, like a dash to make it more clear, not that one line, and just one.
Yeah.
One long one.
Hang on, I'm adjusting.
And then bring no fertilizers without capitalized N, which is just a continuation of the first one. No fertilizers and no pesticides. I'm explaining that these chemical agriculture inputs include those fertilizers and no pesticides. That's what I meant. Okay, so shall I read it again in full?
Okay,
The Universal Council and the Keshe Foundation have good news for world agriculture. We seek cooperation from all governments and agriculture ministries across the world to work with us in realizing national and global food security through plasma agricultural practices that improve yields, nutrition, and incomes without need for costly external inputs. Plasma science agriculture achievements: more than 50% increase in crop yields, no need for any chemical agriculture inputs, no fertilizers, no pesticides, increase in grain protein content without interfering with seed genes, increased income for both farmers and nations, improved health for people and the environment. And then a last paragraph within the same page can be who we are, and then that can be added at the bottom. Very short, one sentence or one or two, up to 3 maximum. And then this can be verbalized, recorded with pictures showing when you show more than 50% increase in crop yields, crops that have been grown with liquid plasma can be displayed. So this becomes a very good advertisement. And then we can copy and paste to letters that we write to ministers in agriculture or whoever deals with agriculture in each of our countries that we represent, the Universal Council, and others who want to help. That's my thoughts about this, and that's all I have to say for now. Thank you very much for the opportunity to read that sentence, to read that paragraph. Thank you.
Do you have
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, do you have to include herbicides in there, or is that implied?
We can remove the after the dash.
No, pesticides and herbicides.
Oh, it's implied.
It's implied, okay.
Yeah, usually, I mean, no fertilizers, no herbicides, and no, it's implied. Because chemical inputs include herbicides. But people, fertilizers and no pesticides is captivating. People know, oh, we don't buy fertilizers, we don't buy pesticides. And of course, chemical inputs include herbicides. What do you all think about that short, clear, and direct message? We can improve it if there are any suggestions.
I think it's pretty good, other than I would take out the 50% because from what I've seen from the agriculture, it's not always 50%. Sometimes it may be 20% or something like that. And to try to guarantee 50% is setting yourself up for failure in a way that if it's only ends up being 30 or 40%, then they'll say, well, what happened? We didn't get our 50%. Many of these crops are already pushed as hard as they can push them with fertilizers and all of that. And to even get a 10% increase would be an enormous cost advantage to these agricultural companies and farmers. I would be leery of that percentage just because it's impressive, but is it always going to be at least a 50% increase, at least a 50% increase in crop yields?
This is a very important point, Rick, but we are not saying that the same is everybody, that you get that. What we are saying is we have achieved. In fact, we have achieved more than 100%. This is an understatement.
Well, were you applying that to crops that already have full fertilizers and full, you know, this is like, you could say that putting fertilizer on a plant will give a 50% increase than one that has no fertilizer, for example. So are all the, I don't know, it just seems like too much of a claim. because this is what you're saying to all the governments and agricultural ministries, that this is the achievement you will get, more than 50% increase in crop yields. And I don't know if we can guarantee that, that's all.
Yeah,
but
it's
maybe.
a good point, Rick. But in fact, even Mr. Cash said the same thing. He said,
Well, I was going to
say,
suggest that maybe Mr. Kesh should look at that before it goes out, before it gets locked down, because he did say that he didn't want us, for example, to do any exaggeration or any, and when we talk to our government representatives and so on, to not set them up for something that was unrealistic or to exaggerate the claims and all that kind of thing.
I heard
before
that.
he gets to talk to them. So it's up to him to present the actual data.
May I add something? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. That's just my input on it anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I would like to point out that it has been reached to have more than 50% increase, and it doesn't mean it's always in every place more than 50%. So I think it's okay to write it like this. I would do it, but maybe I would change the I don't know the word for it. Whether to say at first 50% increase, or at first put the income in the first place, or the healthy food, you know?
thank you very much, Christian. But Rick, your suggestion is correct. And it's perfect that we have Mr. Cash read it before we go to press, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's important, and he'll let us know if that's appropriate to say about the 50% increase, or something. Maybe he'll want to put 100% in. I don't know, but yeah, I think it'd be a good idea to run it by him before going public with it as such.
Dr.
Before the
Gatawa?
final version.
Excuse me, sorry, Rick. Hi, it's Peggy. Dr. Gatawa, I was thinking just by putting the word some in front of crop, more than 50% increase in some crop yields. This way you're not guaranteeing that every crop is going to yield 50% more, but absolutely going past Mr. Cash is always advisable. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Peggy. But, we just heard from Caroline Cash saying, don't put doubts. So we can actually show we have achieved more than 50%. So if we say some, we will be reducing the message, the strength of this statement.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Thank you for calling that forward, Dr. Gatawa.
Sure. We will say what we have done, which is true, we can show. And then if they try, and if they don't get 50%, we can show them that we have done it and achieved more than 50. And then we are not claiming here that for every farmer they will achieve 50% increase. We are showing what plasma science agriculture has achieved. And this is a true statement. But Mr. K should have the final.
Actually, when he asked us to contact the governments, he actually said 25 or 30%. You can hear that recording, I believe, if my memory is correct. And he said they will accept it.
We can
okay, that's good information. Thanks, Mark.
We can say increased yield, crop yields, which is strong also because there is no use for agricultural inputs like fertilizers and pesticides. So even increase itself, increased yields, and we can say we can a percentage
You could say, for example, significant increase in crop yields could work, or large increase in crop yields, or how could we put that it would be get their attention without specifying a particular percentage, perhaps.
Sure. But from my perspective, I still maintain 50% increase yield is an understatement. But I'm okay with that.
Okay, well, as Mark said, maybe that percentage would have to be more realistic for a presentation that's going to governments and large corporate interests and so on, rather than this is going to governments and agricultural ministries, where if they get a 2% or 5% increase in crop yields, they would be jumping for joy, because that could mean millions of dollars to some of these companies. But anyway, I think that maybe we should, it'd be good to present that to Mr. Keshe and say, is that okay to say that statement, or should we tone it down, or should we phrase it differently, or whatever? The idea is that it is a high percentage, and I think we can all agree with that. Okay, is there any other input? We have Ursula has her hand up.
Yes, hi, it's me. Hello, everybody. I feel that, want to know what you are feeling about that. We start with the Universal Council and the Keshe Foundation, and maybe put first Keshe Foundation and then Universal Council. I don't know. I feel it like that. And you? Because when you send this to politicians, they don't know what is an universal council, but they know what is a foundation. So a foundation is a big structure, and maybe they know something about that. And universal council is a council, of this foundation. So when we go to their mentality, it's not very open, mostly. So maybe to write down first the Keshe Foundation and the Universal Council could be more powerful for them, more significant. I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, that's a good question. The way I understand it is the Universal Council will be mostly the one that sort of announces this this achievement, I think. But yet the Keshe Foundation is intimately part of the whole thing too. And do we want to emphasize? I think that you're right. I think it should be the Keshe Foundation first. But is there any input on that? Carolina, do you have an idea on that, or any others that know that connection better?
I think the amount of percentage of increase will show itself. I think if we just state that they will have a minimum of, let's say, 2% of increase, whatever comes on top of it will be beneficial. Because you have to understand that different parts of the world don't have access to the amount of water or the right combination or the weather. You got to be careful. as Rick was trying to say, be careful how you bring it outside. What you can do is you can add a link to referring to what has been achieved. So then the testimonials on agriculture will show for itself. So I think that when you start with an increase of minimum 2%, then the rest is open. What do you think?
It's Ursula again. Hi. Yesterday we got the Knowledge Seekers Workshop Spanish, and no, not knowledge. It was a special one about agriculture, and we have a beautiful agricultrice there. She make big pharma and very good results with plasma, and she use also the other one was not very useful for us because we are using plasma. I don't know if
the microorganism.
No, it's
Ormus.
Ormus, yes, exactly. So okay, she did that, but she had very good results with this. She shows everything. I asked her to make her wishes and all this, but I think she's a little bit afraid about that, to go to the government, the ministries, and because, you know, sometimes there are problems and she's a little bit afraid. So we have been talking then with Jeanette, and we are very interested about what is happening here with the letters to make them and to send them to the right person there. I know it's not easy. I have a friend of mine, she's lawyer working in the Senate, and okay, she tell me something about that. It's not easy, as in every country now. It's not only Argentina, but I think we can do something with this woman. She called Maria Inés Diori. She's in Rojas, in Buenos Aires, in La Pampa. It's this beautiful land with growing so beautiful things, and so we can maybe help her to contact the government or the ministry or whatever. We will see. We have some contact, all right. And okay, how can we help her? Because she can show many things there, and she can talk about, even if she's afraid, but she will do not this alone. So we are there, the foundation is there, and we have something to show there in Rojas. So I don't know how we can help her. I asked her to write down her needs, her wishes, but she didn't, and she's very busy in this time, you know, it's summer there. So okay, I don't know. This is what happens yesterday. So
Ursula.
Sí, hola.
Ursula, I will, before you go any further, that is that Mr. Keshe has made his point very clear about Ormus. Ormus has nothing to do with our knowledge or application. Yeah. So that's one thing that's going to have to be removed from, and also the way, the combination of how the Ganses or her methods of application.
Yes, I
well,
know.
The whole idea is not for people to go to their governments with their crop, you know, to show them their crops and so on. The idea is to go to governments and basically give them something like this to get them to contact the Keshe Foundation or vice versa. In other words, just a government contact, so that Mr. Keshe can take over and do the actual negotiation, discussions, and show them the evidence and so on. It's not for us to go and show the evidence and to directly interact with the higher up government officials. It's the way I understand it.
Yes, of course, I understand also, and she didn't know about hormones and this because we are just starting our agricultural sessions. But this was at the beginning. She's using this now. I don't know, 5 years ago. I don't know exactly, but she mostly use plasma. So it's the most important, and we can. There is John there. John is in Argentina, so he can help her very much to organize this and to help her to
I'm
go.
only 1,000 kilometers away.
Okay, it's nothing for Argentina.
But she's got a GMO factory just 50 kilometers away, and she is an assessor. She just provides assessment to agriculturists. Doesn't own any farm. And the big problem is these big factories here, the GMO factories, that they sort of put things in the politicians' pockets. So we put it this way.
Yes,
And
us
and
everywhere.
you've got to be very careful with all this. The same as the medical factories.
Okay,
Right.
but
That's why it has to be done from a diplomatic and top-end kind of way.
I've been here in
Mr. Keshe.
I've been to the INTA here. INTA is the National Institute of Agricultural Technology. I've invited them over to talk to them about all this, but they still haven't come over. And well, the thing is, we're in summer holidays here, and many people are away right now.
Okay, well, I'd like to hear from Dean. He's had his hand up here, and he's heavily involved. He's been at the World Agricultural Fair this last week for a 3-day affair, so to speak. And maybe he's got some information about this that would be appropriate. Dean?
I unmuted?
Yeah, go ahead.
Peace be with everyone. Grace, mercy, and creation. And I am present. Here are two areas that are not in the statements here, and I think that they are incredibly important. Number one, by using plasmatic science for growing, it increases the shelf life dramatically of the products, which makes it so that a nation that is, say, landlocked and doesn't have great transportation is now able to export their food in order to get it to market where it wasn't even available before because of the growing of plasmatic science.
Well, that's a really good point. Maybe that should be put on the document. How'd you put it? How'd you put it? The increase in shelf, large or significant increase in shelf life. Was that how you put it?
Well, I don't know. I know that in the agricultural public teachings that I saw where they had products, microgreens that were grown with plasma, and they were lasting 3 and 4 weeks, where the regular shelf life for those things is 3 to 4 days. And by putting within the refrigeration unit things that were grown under a plasmatic condition next to things that weren't, the field strength of the things that were grown with plasmatic technologies made it so the products that were next to it had the same spoilage rate as those that were grown with the plasma or the GANS water, or however it was put together. And then the second thing that I think is incredibly important is the fact that the GANS, when the field strengths, when they're applied to a field, they increase the ability of a carbon uptake mechanism of plants to increase its temperature sensitivity so that it's able to grow in hotter conditions and colder conditions. Let me give an example. I live in the central San Joaquin Valley, and right along the Sierra Nevadas, there's a belt where the citrus, the oranges, are grown from a whole lot of the world. Well, about 15 years ago, they had a heavy frost, and it was the greatest loss of income of any natural disaster that has happened in California, was the wiping out of the orange trees. They're back growing again. But just a 2 to 3 degree difference would have taken and mitigated the greatest financial loss that California had had up until that time. So I think the spoilage and the increase in temperature are two of the greatest things. And then another thing that happens is that sometimes because the increase of growth rate, the increase of harvest, and the increase in temperature range, it allows the plants to get a third season sometimes instead of just 2, instead of just 1. So the spoilage, if I could take and make things last, 300% longer, okay, that right there, I would say is a greater benefit than just the increase of yields. Because if you can keep something fresh to market that long, that's my input on that.
There's a couple of really good points there, for sure, Dean. What do you think, Gatua and Mashfek? Would you like to add that to the document?
Okay, I'm just the scribe, so tell me what to add and I will do it.
Gatua, you are the master with words. How would you put it? We had the the point of the shelf life, or you could say less spoilage or better shelf life, longer shelf life for products, longer. There's another word for shelf life. Longevity.
No, good evening. You can use the longer shelf life, or is known as a longer life from farm gates to market and in the market. The 3 points you raised is very correct. There is a couple of points you have to in there. You put is known as an increase in the shelf life or increase in the transportation from a farm gate. It's the correct one.
There's probably a term for, do they call it like gate to?
It's a farm gate.
Gate to market or something,
gates,
or
yeah, from
farm to market.
Farm gates to the market, yeah, and shelf life in the market. And the other one is, as was mentioned, there is something which is missing. Should be 2 major points, and it should be on the top. One of the first ones here, increase in the shelf life. Yeah. Yeah, that's understood. And the second one, which was mentioned, you can add the second one.
It was about the second one was about the temperature tolerance, I guess you might call it.
Yeah, but you can put it, yes. How increase? It should be what it is. We grow in freezing weather. At the moment, we are growing wheat in the snow.
Like increased temperature tolerance? Would that work, Mr. Keshe?
In a way, yes.
Or a better temperature tolerance, or wider temperature tolerance? Wider might be good.
It's called increase in the ambient temperature of the farming land. That's what they usually call it. This has to be very, very carefully put in, because we've seen some people done something and then they said this is all nonsense, doesn't work.
Well, we had the question, Mr. Keshe, especially about the first one there, the more than 50% increase in crop yields, and we were discussing about running this document by you, and specifically about that percentage, and that you said 20 to 30 and so on.
20 to 30 is usually more than the governments are happy with even 10%. If you go 30% and they achieve 100%, they're very happy with. Just change that to more than 30%.
Right.
Increase in the shelf life is one, and the other one which was mentioned.
How about increased environmental tolerance?
No, this is very tricky, because I know we had a huge problem in one of the biggest farming unions in China. We were growing strawberries in the greenhouse, very beautifully growing. And a guy came out, what about if you put it outside, minus 20 degrees, says test it, water it. They put it out. We don't know what they did. They froze and dropped off. Says, oh, the rest of the test is useless. We don't want to carry on. But they're increasing harvest by 200%. It's just that you have to watch how you put that terminology in there. You can put out new opportunities to grow, harvest in colder or hotter climates. That could be one of them. Don't put temperature and these things, just put a climate condition. Increase or less sensitive to climate conditions. There is a very just put it in increase with it.
How about a better tolerance for environmental conditions?
For climate conditions, yeah. To grow in different climate conditions. We are growing now. I can give you some pictures. I have it on my phone. I can show you. We are growing wheat with the snow on top of it, and it's still growing. It's driving us crazy how it's happening. There are two things you have to put on the top, I think, because this is going to be straight away coming. Just put a tolerance, greater tolerance to temperature increase or decrease. Greater tolerance to temperature variation.
That's the word, temperature variation, yes.
Yeah, the McDonald's work 40 to 50 degrees centigrade temperatures there in Australia right now.
It says increase in the shelf life. Dr. Gatwa put something just on us so as a note. Is correct. Can you see it on the note? Dr. Gatwa just put something on. It says increase in the shelf life of products. It should be shelf life of products. That was correct.
No, that was correct. Increase in shelf life was correct.
Increase in shelf life.
Of
shelf life of products. Shelf life of product. There are two things which is very important, and this is how we handle, and we can scientific proof to it. The first one has to be not more than 30% increase in crop yield. The first one has to be the use of a natural product known as the GANS plasma water is a natural product. This is the main concern of many governments. It's a new chemical. So you have to put science, agriculture achievement, use of a natural product, newly discovered natural product known as GANS. We are clearly separating plasma from GANS plasma, which means we call it the GANS plasma water. Then they understand, yeah? Use of newly discovered natural state of matter known as GANS. GANS plasma water. Somewhere in the top, when you put through, it should be GANS plasma agricultural practices. Somewhere where you, in your position where you put GANS, it's important to open a bracket and state GANS is a gas in nano state. The world of science now has such a connection with nanomaterials that they immediately accept it as a breakthrough. So somewhere in there in your main text, you have to put where you speak about the plasma, it should be GANS plasma, whatever. And then define the GANS, what it is. Gas in nano state. Gas in nano state. They immediately understand this. You can close that. That's it. The other thing you need to do, second one, after use of newly discovered natural states of matter, just go below that one, which is going to be the second one, has to be non-genetic deformation. We can put in that because one of the first thing now is if you increase the harvest.
I would use manipulation there instead of deformation.
Maybe, but you have to explain in a very small bracket in there. Tested through government laboratory. It's that genetically nothing changes. This is one of the first things we had. That's why for a year in China, we had a huge problem. That after raising the official board of agriculture, they said this is genetic material. And the confidential report we release, we show that there are a lot of things in the background that is a non-GMO. You can put non-GMO product, non-GMO increase in harvest, not non-genetic deformation, or put it non-GMO process. And then you put in back a test proven governmental test confirmation. These are the two things they look for because scientifically we handle a lot of these things at the moment. The biggest problem is there is a process we do not, and I don't want it to be put here because it's a specific process with a GANS, which we can reverse GMO. You can put it in there, we can show it. That reversal of GMO material. This is how now we have no problem with American offering seeds to any nation GMO through a specific process. We can change the GMO of the seed before harvesting. This is very nice what you made. At the moment, we are now directly interfacing with governments on these things. And we have raised huge amount of funds for this process through government, that some nations we can directly start with this process, that we have been given facilities that we can support some governments to set up factories. The other thing which you can put in here, because it's one of the main concerns of many governments, is reduction in use of agricultural fertilizer. You put in the chemical agricultural input, no fertilizer, no pesticide. You have to put in there decrease in land contamination. Somewhere at the bottom, or where you put the no fertilizer, you put decrease or cleaning up the nitrites from the agricultural land. This is a very important position for a lot of governments.
Revitalizing the soil?
Pardon?
I was just saying revitalizing the soil?
No, it's a process because we don't revitalize. It's a natural processes.
So you don't get the runoff of the nitrites and phosphates and so on.
The wrong way. No, this is the wrong way put. It says reduction in nitrites contamination of the land. That should be the right word. Not a cleanup. It should be reduction. Progressive. It should be progressive reduction in nitrites, land nitrites, and other contaminants. It should be progressive, not reduction. Progressive reduction, it should be beginning. The reason for it is why it does what happened, if any of you speak to people or anybody in the future listens to understand. Because we use the gas water, we use no fertilizer. By law of nature, the rain washes the nitrite deeper and deeper into the ground. Or any contaminant which is used like pesticides. They don't stay up, they get washed lower and lower. And so that's what we call the progressive reduction of nitrite. And contamination should be nitrites and chemical contamination. So because we don't use chemicals and we use gas water, so there's no more addition of nitrites into it, and gradually washes lower and lower till it goes to the point that the roots don't achieve. We reckon it reduces the nitrites level by about 3 to 10 centimeters per year. You might see higher concentration in deeper or somewhere down the line in the next few years. Usually it takes about 3 to 10 years. It might hit the waterbed. But by the time we get there, we might see increase in nitrite in waterbeds for 2 or 3 years, but the dilution is so high that it's got used to it and then disappear. And the other thing you can put there, the contamination of farm, watering farm, agricultural water. This is important for a lot of governments. Decontamination of agricultural water from poisons and metals.
Mr. Keshe, should the fourth sentence down, no need for any chemical agricultural inputs. Is that true? Is it no need, or would it be a reduction in
reduction is
fertilizers
better. Reduction is much better.
Okay. So you could take out the no need for any and put in
just a
reduction
Always
in.
just be conservative. Yeah. This afternoon, Keshe Foundation has released one of its most important documents up to now in agriculture. Governments. We have released to a number of governments around the world official 130-page, highly important document. Is only released into what we call ministerial level, at that level of the African swine fever and what is known as a blue ear fever, and we can use that as part of one of them we can put in here, that we can change the farming practices, use of reduction in use of antibiotic in farming practices. We have managed to reverse in a specific way. It cannot be using normal way. It's taken a long time to do it, but this is a process I developed about 8-10 years ago in Belgium, and now we applied it into application of the viruses from space into animals, and it works. And there's a huge discovery in this tech, which is now, I think in the next few weeks, it'll be debatable. And I mentioned in the teaching, we have managed to move from DNA to RNA to create RNA, to produce RNA or affect RNA, and then from RNA to change DNA. Any one of the teachings I mentioned. And this is important to go in here. In reduction in use of antibiotics in farming practices. We've done nearly a year trial in Italy, and we have seen it. And it's more effective, especially on the young animals. Reduction in the use of antibiotic in farming practices. This antibiotic use has a huge effect on it. There is governments look for across the whole pattern of things when you give than being single just agriculture. Also farming. As was mentioned, I think we forgot, it was just mentioned, the other thing is it's reduction in the harvesting time, allowing further use of the land. Reduction in growth and harvesting time, allowing possibility of a secondary or a third harvest, in increasing the income of the farmers. Harvesting time. The other one you can put on the third one on the top you got to do, I think you need a full stop at the end of all these, or a comma to be correct in English. It has to be increasing the income capital of the farmers. This is very important in agriculture because poverty is one of the main concerns of governments in respect to the farmers. We see biggest poverty gap in any nation is the farming. It's the farmers and the farm workers. We don't see that much poverty in cities, in urban areas. There is a limitation to it, there is. But the highest level of poverty comes from the farming countries area. So increasing capital income per farmer is very important.
Mr. Keshe, the one from the second one from the last has increased income for both farmers and nation. It's already there.
You have to bring that to the top.
Okay.
What you got to do there, you put increase. It should be.
Nitrite, the T, not D. 6 bullet from the top. Progressive reduction of blood nitrites. T.
Nitrite. Yeah. It's wrong. Land nitrite. You put nitrite. Yeah. Your nitrite there is wrong.
I have to remove land?
No, the nitrite.
It's the reduction of contamination of the land, right? Production, it's not, well.
Doctor, I think he's trying to say.
No, it's T instead of D. Just spelled wrong.
Yeah, it's D there. Is N-I-T-R-I-T, not D.
Nitrates, you mean?
Okay.
Is it nitrites or nitrates?
Nitrites. You see there you put increase in income. Increase in income. And then you put in there for farmers.
Do I need to remove the nations?
No, for farmers has to be finished. Yeah. Okay. The other one, after you have to take the rest out. And nations, that should come out. The line somewhere at the bottom should be increase in national food security. That's how they see it. The other one you have, because you're talking about agriculture and farming and agriculture, when you mention in your main text, yeah, it should be farming and agriculture. And then one, after increasing national food security, you can mention increase in
fishery and farming product. Because we see like pigs grow much faster by 30% in the same duration than the other animals. We see reducing the cycle of the fish if it's 2 years to 1 year. We done all these tests.
Need to fix the third sentence down. Increase in income for both farmers. It used to be, yeah. Okay, I guess that's better.
Can I be heard?
Yes, carry on. We were waiting for you to give us the good news.
Oh, there's so much good news. One of the things that I wrote down is Keshe Foundation, we offer an integrated system of agriculture for soil, plant, animal, because we cover it all. And I'm glad, Mr. Keshe, you brought up virus remediation, because in agriculture, that is huge. And I am going to just interject. I have a question, and it doesn't need to be answered now, but have you done tests on composting material that is grown on GANs and then using the compost in seeing if it increases the growth of plants without using the GAN? Another question I have, that was about composting. And then there was something that I heard in one of the agriculture, maybe the knowledge seekers, where people were growing greens in a greenhouse where the temperatures weren't high enough to grow and they didn't have the proper light. So I'm wondering, is the photosynthesis greater when you're using the GAN? And if not, must be. And if that's so, would it allow people who are growing within confined areas to increase their yield? And then the last thing is I worked on a project using microphilic bacteria in a machine that turned out 50 yards of substrate a day. And then we used it for growing of fungus. And by using that process for bioremediation, we were able to not only help with the nitrates in a season, but we were also able to, just by using the substrate that was produced with mycobacterial bacteria and put on fields, we were able to increase the yield by 100%. But I think, as this is presented, it's a integrated system of agriculture that touches everything. And when you're looking at agriculture, you're not looking just at food, but you're looking at building materials, you're looking at clothing. Anyway, that's my little input, and this has been fabulous. Thank you all.
Okay, well, this has gotten into quite a bit more points than we had originally. We now have 15 points. I would suggest to have less points in order that we don't lose people's attention that are reading this document. But
no, you see, when you give this to governments, they look at the whole points. Farming and agriculture are combined. You cannot separate it, and all the points are perfectly stated, because one leads to the other. You support. You have to support. We used to be very in a hurry just to show a few things and carry on. This shows the strength and the depth of it. When a government looks, they can see covers many things for them.
okay, good point.
This is how we handle it. In the next years, there has to be a better understanding of the whole structure, and if you target spread a target like this, you don't touch one thing, because in the short run, you say, okay, so fertilizing companies are closing, you damage their income, but governments are not happy with the fertilizers, but they have no choice. Then we have to look at the long term. This is what we start doing now. Looking for different solutions of the agriculture in different lands. For example, now we know the ganses are very alkaline. That's why your pH goes to 8 and 9. We were saying, oh, we can produce land of material which can be good with a positive alkaline. But now we are testing in the areas which the land is the salinity is high and alkalineness is high. And when we use GANs, we find out we can't get any harvest. In salt marshes, now these are practicality. We can grow harvest in other lands massively, but in alkaline lands, which is about 25% of the lands across the world that are highly alkaline, you'll find out when you put more alkaline, the harvest doesn't grow. The natural product grows faster than when you add a GANs in the pre-cultivation process. Which means now what we're learning is in the alkaline regions, we do not put any GANs to the seed. We don't water any GANs. We wait till the green shoots come up and then we interfere with it. So that's why I said when we talk to the governments, we look at the region by region. and process. There is huge, vast amount of information sitting in the background in agriculture now. And we don't like to go out and go public with it because people can misinterpret it. But that's why I said things have to be left with us to know how to do it. If you apply GANS material, like by soaking it before you seed it, and your land is alkaline, you find out you fall behind it. In some cases, the plant delays by 30 days. But when it shoots up above and then you put the GANS water on it, it just goes crazy. And they look at that first, says, how come yours is late? And I was in an agricultural meeting past 2-3 days. We have something like 50 million square meter of alkaline land, and we're testing for growth. And my team telling me, Mr. Keshe, this thing is not growing, the natural is coming up. And I said, let's test it. We tested in the other side of the country. It grows 10 times faster. When we looked at it, I looked at the land report in China, and land is well defined. We can know chemical of any land in any district within a few minutes within the agricultural industry. And when I looked, the land is 15% alkaline, which is huge, 25% alkaline in part of it. And then I said, this is obvious. So we have to know what, that's why I said, leave things with us in agriculture and farming. And we are, it has to be, for example, here, the contamination of the water is important for governments to decontaminate.
Mr. Keshe, there's another important point that I'm wondering about, and perhaps you can answer, which is the GANS plasma water considered to be organic? That keyword organic that a lot of
that's what I put on the top. It's a natural product.
But is it certified organic? Like organic farmers have to have certified organic products. They can't be putting fertilizers on that.
It's a natural product. It doesn't need to be, it is organic. It's a natural product. It's not chemical products.
Okay, but it will still have to be certified by the organic organizations in order to be approved to be distributed on organic lands.
This is what we discussed with some officials. Now we're talking 2-3 countries. We are introducing new terminology, which is plasmatic, natural plasmatic, or we don't touch organic because we cannot say if it's organic. What does it mean, organic? It means it's a chemical product. It's a naturally chemically occurring product. And when your chemical product is, what do you call it? Manure is organic. That's why we call it a natural product. There is a terminology. We are looking at the products coming up into the market next year without using plasma. We're calling it a GANS plasma product.
Now, for the organic farmers, even the manure has to be certified. If it comes from a horse that or a cow that's had antibiotics, for example, then they have to allow a certain period of time for it to sit and so on.
We cannot use organic. We cannot call it organic because it's a natural product.
Yeah, I wish there was some way that it could be certified, because that would be such a big selling point.
We cannot do. It's a natural product. It's a natural product. We looked at it. What you're asking is we've been looking at this.
Like they're allowed, organic farmers are allowed certain natural products in terms of, you know, if they need to add calcium or something, then there's certain ways that they're allowed to do that, let's say. So, geez, maybe there's some way that it could be looked
We cannot claim. We are looking at it. We are looking at it. We cannot say that, because that's why we call new space plasma technology GANS plasma. A lot of people had a problem with the plasma, so when we add a GANS plasma, it sorted everything out. There is a lot of confusions coming out of conversations. Then they connect it's a blood plasma, whatever we call the gas, it's a gas in nano state, then to them it clicks on. A lot of farmers in northern China, I was traveling very recently there, they speak to you about, again, because we are doing a lot of research and development in that area. They speak like gas as it was there for years. And I was puzzled. I said to my team, what's happening? Oh, we explained everything in public so everybody knows what gas is, to understand it. And it has just opened up. We're covering an area maybe 3-4 times the size of England. And wherever our team's working or farming, they've heard about it, now they understand it. It's growing very fast when we call it GANS plasma. It's become a very strange thing. I received a message yesterday, I'm going to go and see it. Chinese Science and Technology Museum, they have brought the Keshe Foundation Maggrav system. For the first time, it's in the museum. Now they're using the Maggrav system. I'm going there this week to have a look. Some of the scientists from the university been there. They send me a message. Mr. Keshe Maggrav has to start being used in China, and it's in the museum. You can read it. So it's catching on. It's people understand it's a separate direction in it. This text is beautiful, what you put in there. It says everything he has to say. What happened with the conference you were going to? What did you manage to do?
Dean, I think he's addressing you there. Do you want to talk about the agricultural convention?
Before we go there, can this text have a heading? It's missing a heading. It says 6 cooperation. Is there more into it further up?
Moshe, can you make the document go up?
Hang on a second. I'm not in front of my computer right now. Hang on a little bit. I'll be there shortly.
Okay.
There is not much up there except like mentioning this is from the Universal Council.
Doesn't matter. Just drop it down, please, so we can read it.
Let me get there.
It's actually had an important part that we wanted to ask you about there regarding whether it should mention the Keshe Foundation first or the Universal Council first. So you'll see once
I think Keshe Foundation is known. They can refer to it till
yeah, that's what we
Keshe Foundation. Yeah. Or Universal Council in supporting the work of the Keshe Foundation. Because Universal Council comes far ahead of the Keshe Foundation. We got to wait for him till he comes.
So you can see on that first sentence there, the Universal Council and the Keshe Foundation have been.
Yeah, it should be with the support of Keshe Foundation, agricultural team. With the support.
So would this be an announcement from the Universal Council then? Is that the way?
Yes, 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 yes. What? Good news shouldn't be there. That has to be changed. It should be is proud to announce a new world of agriculture. Good news, we are not selling. Is proud to announce. A new world of agriculture. A new
approach to agriculture.
It should be a new milestone. Development. In the world of agriculture. It should not be we see
a new milestone development in the world of agriculture.
A new milestone development, yeah.
That's the word way you said it.
Yeah. The wording is wrong. We seek cooperation. It should be, we're not seeking cooperation. We are offering cooperation to governments. To not all governments, to governments. Take all that.
It should be either we offer cooperation or we are offering cooperation.
We offer. No, we offer. It should be not offering. We offer cooperation and support. We offer cooperation and support. This across the world should come out, I think. We offer, the cooperation is attached to the offer. Yeah. We offer to world governments cooperation and support. It should be to world governments. We offer to world governments. Or you just read it, we offer cooperation and support. Take the word out, please. To work with us should be out. In realizing should be newly discovered through newly discovered GANs. All the governments now at the moment looking for new technologies. So this says it's a new discovery. Needs to discover gas, plasma technology. Plasma technology. After the plasma should be technology. On the same line, just go back. After the bracket, it says plasma technology. In supporting farming, in supporting farming and agriculture. This is perfect. You see, we cannot be complacent, but at the same time, we can't be too arrogant, but we have to separate ourselves. Can you make this, what do you call it, box framed, that your sentences are in block, not finished somewhere halfway? Yeah. That's perfect. Okay, can you get rid of the rest of it there? Is there any more further points down? No. That was the last one, yeah?
No, there is no more below the bullet points right now. But in a letter, we would probably add a few more sentences at the bottom.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I'm trying to, is there any way you can get a screenshot of this and put it on with everything else? With all the text?
Screenshot. Okay, let me reduce this.
Yeah, I want the whole thing in one because I know what to do with it. It's beautiful what you put down there.
Okay, this is all the whole thing right now.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you very much. The problem at the moment is I try to give you overall view what's happening, which is important. I've been invited to, we have accepted the position. We are waiting, as I said before, to become an advisor to World Food Security Program, which is taking over very heavily now. There are a number of conferences. Hopefully, I'll be attending in the coming.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you just cut out briefly there.
Yeah, so what it is, there's a huge problem as part of the world security, food security, that the Americans are trying to dominate food of the nations. But we have come to a very rapid conclusion that the Americans might use this technology to increase the harvest of the American agriculture products and becoming more detrimental to the rest of the nations. In a coming time, there will be a food restriction movement, agricultural food restriction movement, which means we try to increase the agricultural harvest of every nation to its maximum. And nations like American agriculture becomes a support in the case of shortfall, like in disasters. Part of the Food National Security looks at, and this is part of the job of the Universal Council and the Earth Council members to consider in the future, that by increasing production in one part of the world, we don't put the rest of the people in danger. So in a coming time, you will see a lot of restriction on American agriculture movement to the rest of the world because Americans are borrowing heavily internationally and subsidizing their farmers. And in a very short time, in United Nations, we bring a law that any country overall cost has to be considered before exporting. Subsidizing food subsidies by one nation to support the other governments becomes criminal offense. Becomes passed by United Nations, a criminal act. So as part of this process, which will come up, it'll take another 5 to 10 years, governments who, unless they have a special climate that only product can be produced in their nation, would not be allowed to do what the Americans are doing. The harvest, the rice in US costs 3 times more than the rest of the world at the moment. Labor cost, storage cost, and they're offering it 30% below market. They're borrowing money heavily in the international market and subsidizing it to destroy governments. This will stop. It's part of the proposition I have put in, and we will stop it. Because now as there was no alternative, we had no choice. Now there is a proven alternative. And the next, as I've become a senior advisor in the World Food Security through the United Nations offices, we will force this through. But we have to build the governments first before we can do this. So it's important for us to take this to the next step, which means allowing at least 30 to 50% of the world nations to start producing. What you're putting down here is a first step of starting conversations. Even if we say we can do, but most of the nations, this is the reason, because we've done a lot of tests, we have a huge backup, will force them to look into it because this is what is needed. That's why I made it so extensive with 15, maybe another 10. I can tell you can put on, which is the concerns of the government. But in general, it'll take us another 3 to 5 years to build enough factories to be able to support. We have to be realistic. Once we start talking, we show it can be done. They can come and see the products. To make it a reality, it will create a condition for us 3 to 5 years. This is what we're planning with the Chinese government. We'll build massive amounts of factories across the world. In the region of 600 factories in the next 5 to 10 years. All the finances is getting organized for it. We have achieved a lot. Now we can in some way not announce it, but this is what the work in progress. I have signed all the documentation for it to start. And secondly, what we will see is that a lot of natural resources has to be transferred to the new technology. Unless the new technology, which is getting developed, and is partially developed in a Keshe Foundation research teams in 3 or 4 different parts of the world, is introduced, we can't be arrogant since we have a solution we're going on. You have to consider you need zinc plates, you need copper plates. At the moment, there's a huge recession coming up. We see it. China has dropped by 35%, from 8-9% growth to 6%. Italy has hit below 0. So there is going to be a huge glut of materials, minerals, which are not getting used. But if we create such a use, we use something like 100 metric ton of copper per factory, which is blueprinted. This is the scale of the product. So research teams in the background are developing a system that we don't need so much material. It's getting tested. We have this, we cannot just bulldoze, we have the solutions, yes we have. It can be done in a smaller scale, but setting up the factories to be able to produce 6,000 to 10,000 liters of GANs per day minimum will meet part of the needs of the nation. There is a ratio we are working on, 4 million to 6 million per factory capital is needed. So you can see the scale of 7 billion, how many you need. Because it's not just agriculture, is energy, is a lot of other things behind it. So when we offer such a thing, when you go to a farming land, you fly for 2 or 3 hours sometimes to go from one end to another with a small plane. It takes us about an hour of flight with helicopter at 250 kilometers, 300 kilometers to cover the farming land. The scale is huge. And so there are a lot of realities. That's why I say you have to leave it with us, because we have developed other technologies beyond this technology. We cannot go public with it. We do not go public. Governments have to understand it. The parts of the world which is not the land, is the shortage of water. In most of the Middle East, where we are negotiating with some governments, and in part of the Asia, the lack of water is there. So we have part of this bullet should be reduction in use of water. Has to be there, because water resources are important. I told you there's another 10 points you can add to this. And maybe it must be one of the first 3 or 4. Reduction in use of water, water reserves. It has to be part of this bulletin.
Thank you,
because, pardon? Hello? Somebody spoke.
So I'm adding reduction of water at the top.
Reduction in use of groundwater. Because water distribution and the shortfall in rain is a huge problem. And we have shown it, we can grow without it. We're developing very advanced technologies. The technologies which I've put in here, it'll shock you what, how we see things are growing. So this, when we go with these with governments, when we put this out, we have to be very humble. We can't become arrogant, but we have to understand government want a solution today. And 70% of the world farmers are small farmers. 1 hectare, 2 hectare, 3 hectare of land. And these are all which, when we speak, we have to be humble enough to explain to the government we need it. I've been in meetings and signed and done, and factories getting structured and set up in the coming weeks and months. You will see. That's why Keshe Foundation does not make any more announcements, because we've got so much that we decided through the new structure we have. We don't make any more announcements anywhere what we are doing. Because now we literally have taken offices within the government offices. We are not anymore Keshe Foundation on its wing. We have become now, in some governments, we are moving to sit with the agricultural committees inside the governments. Because we have proven technology, report documents, and it's taken time to build it. This is one of the reasons I resigned as head of Keshe Foundation, because I cannot be there. The management of the Keshe Foundation is not in my hand anymore, and it's done by the head of the foundation, which is the management team there. And they still have to do a lot. They need a lot to get their own confidence, but it's part of the growth. We offer it, we have to explain to them. We cannot touch the harvest this year. And the discussion on the table is how we're going to do. We cannot produce more than certain numbers and how we report, especially to cover all continents. If you look at the moment, for example, this African pig flu has entered the food chain, has fully entered the food chain. Because governments cannot stop the farmers to lose so much. When they see the first signs, they slaughter all the animals already infected. Because they don't show the sign, it takes 3 to 5 days, they sell in that time. So, and the government cannot stop because they don't have a solution. Now we have a solution. We don't have the factories to be able to support it. Our turnover time from zero time to the first production, there is so much work happening in the background, should be around about 12 weeks. Nobody has done this. There's a lot of work done in the Keshe Foundation in the background. From being given a shell to the time to produce first product, around about 12 weeks. No organization has done a lot of work, Keshe Foundation, in the background, but all these needed time. Millions of dollars has been spent. But we have to be very correct, and that's why I explain it here, that when you go and see the ministries, it's okay, but we have to start a process. Raising funds, millions of dollars. A single factory for a small nation is around about $100 million. It's not a bucket that you see, you produce gases in a bucket with 2 plates. To meet the need of a nation, Africa, is around $100 million. Everything has to be automated. Everything has to be to standard that it comes out. We don't certify products anymore. We go for certifying the factory, which means whatever comes out of the factory is already certified. We've done a lot of work, huge amount of work with different part of the Keshe Foundation, with different government has already been achieved. The first factory with ISO 9001 is already built. I was walking it a few weeks ago. Even the air is filtered to the highest level. It's like walking into the space lab. 2,500 square meters of it has cost $50 million to build. Then these need finances. Governments cannot afford it. We have set everything up, all the finances, everything is set up by governments, not by Keshe Foundation. But I know as part of my business world in the background in 30, 40 years where to go. And I've asked every friend I know for 30 years, from world leaders to world banks, connections, and I've set everything up. I work 20, 24 hours a day sometimes. That's why I say, when we speak, we know what to speak. You just open the doors. We can reach the governments, but I want this to go through the Keshe Foundation. That word on the top, that little word, it says the Universal Council, with support of Keshe Foundation. It gives the government to understand what is a Universal Council. They come back to it. You have 3 new members of the Universal Council in the next few days to be added to the Universal Council members. This what you have here is a beautiful, very strong document. And it covers most of the things the government need, because they just don't look at increasing harvest. Increase the harvest, what's going to happen with our fertilizing factories, what's going to happen with the amount of money we spend importing fertilizers. Now it becomes a national asset. You don't need to. They look at everything. What's going to happen with the farming? You have to understand, most of the politicians you give this to already have a separate bank account that they get benefit by some of the people you're trying to touch with their products. So it has to be showing so many gains that one gain does not count in so many ways. One of the bulletins here has to be reduction in the use of antibiotics in farming in so many ways that when you got it there already is to explain the benefit of it. And anything you put out with the Keshe Foundation name on it, from now on has to be 100% correct. You will understand very soon why. When you put this in conjunction with support of Keshe Foundation has become a very powerful way of sharing new technology, new knowledge. This is something I saw very recently. I think it was with Mark House in one of the Golden Age of Cancer guy writes, Keshe Foundation is a fraud. The MAGRAPH system doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work. Why didn't you return it if you pay 500? Send it back. But no, I'm not sending it back. I'm keeping it. So you're lying. Because if you get system damaged on the way when they receive it, then we have to replace it. But if you paid $5 for something and it doesn't work, you take it back. Why do you go there and say, I bought it? So we write to them, can you send it back? No, no, I'm keeping it. So you can see the problems you're having. As we ask them, if you have a problem with body, we'll send it. No, no, I want to keep it. So it means you're lying. And these are the things which we have to, Keshe Foundation is setting up a new interface with the public. You will see it coming up that we can respond to. If all these people who bought the MAGRAPH system hasn't worked, return it back, we send you a new one, because we know a large number of our systems were damaged in transportation. Not that they're wrong. And we know now that a lot of government's circuitry takes the energy but does not return back to what is to be used. Now we went back to the first day of teaching, the first week of plasma teaching in a cascading system. Then we use everything what we need, we give the surplus back to the government. We become self-sufficient and a supplier. It's the same with these things. At the moment, this situation is unacceptable the way the Americans have set up. They're borrowing, huge amount of borrowing. You have to understand how important it is. I'll give you a calculation. If somebody can do maths on the screen, you will understand how bad the situation is. The American government surplus, or what you call borrowing, or what do you call it, trade. In January of 2019, can somebody go to a calculator on the screen? I want to show you something, because as a member of Universal Council and Earth Council, you have to be aware of this. Can you switch back here? Somebody? Then you see it.
You want a whiteboard or a calculator?
Yeah, just to a calculator, just a calculator. This is a
you want to do that, Mushfaq?
This is a statistic.
Or do you want me to?
Get this out of the sharing.
This is a statistic 15 days old. Actually 5 days old, because they put it together last week. The trade balance between United States and China in January of 2019 is $27 billion. Means the Chinese have exported to America $27 million of goods, more than the Americans have shipped in. We don't have a whiteboard, nobody can do this.
I removed it, but the screen's not getting removed. Rick, can you stop it? I have disabled. Okay.
You know, yeah, if somebody can do this, because I'm on a mobile phone. This is the story of, you know, when a fat guy goes to the doctor and the doctor says you are overweight by 50 kilo, the guy says, okay, I'm not. And then the doctor takes 50 kilo of fat and puts it in front of him, says, this is how much you're carrying. Would you like to carry this all the time with you? Then it hits home. This is what I'm going to show you, you understand. This is the official governmental report. The trade between China and Russia and America has increased by 31.5% in January of this year, past 30 days. $27 billion have been shipped from China into America. If you put 27 billion, which is 27 plus so many zeros, now divided by the American population, which is 370 million. What's the balance? Every American child born today, last month, has borrowed $73 from Chinese to live. Multiply this by 12. It means every American is supported by China by $875,000 a year. Then you have to see how come. And on top of it, Chinese are borrowing American papers to lend them another 10 times more than this every year, for them to subsidize their farmers, to decapitate the farmers in China by reduction of the food. The equation has changed. A lot of nations could accept this, but not anymore with the new agricultural system which we are putting in. Now you can see the scale. In 10 years' time, every American owes $10,000 to Chinese. A bankrupt nation through borrowing is making the others by subsidizing in arms and farming. They are borrowing from the Chinese to give it to the farmers to damage their farming in China. The equation, there was no solution up to now. Now there is a solution. In the next 3 years, we see China to become one of the main grain exporters worldwide. But on a fair basis, which means Chinese farmers will export at the price of international market, not the repetition of the same problem. And then we want to see how many Texas farmers can farm anymore, can sell anymore. This is why we see huge economical backlash. Americans are trying to get the upper hand before they get hit with any shape or form. Members of the Universal Council, as you're coming in, you have to see the problem you're facing. You cannot operate without world food security. You have no credibility. So on the other angle, as members of the Universal Council in public, is to sit down to find out solutions through the new technology for governments, which you can actually offer. It's not just a shop talk. Then everything you have to come with the expertise that you can offer and give a solution and deliver the solution. We are not a consultancy group. This is a huge progress in different directions. In next few months, you will see the Keshe Foundation work will become international operation. Even in agriculture, in different ways, in fishery. We are depleting ocean reserves because we cannot farm enough and create a healthy fish that it does live. We can confirm, we can supply the chain of food by increasing the harvest. For example, shrimp is one of the biggest consuming farming products, but the harvest is about 30%. 70%, 80%, sometimes 60% is lost during the growth. We have tested, now we increase the harvest to 90%, 95% achievement through plasma technology. At the same time, shrinkage by the time of the growth time. These all needed time to be done, and that's why we deliver a huge amount of scientific backup to government, and it cannot be in the hand of public. That's why when we deliver public. Today, this afternoon, as I said, the report regarding the pigs was completed. It's a 130-page report. It's not one or two, it's 138, 31-page report. And sealed. And can be checked with governments. you got to understand this is what they call religious disease, they call it, as I said before in other presentations. African swine flu is not touching the Islamic and the Jewish nations because they don't consume pig. The pig industry doesn't exist in their what do you call it, in their structure. They're not concerned. But it touches Russia, Romania, Eastern Bloc, China, East Asia, but strange enough, we don't see the United States. Very strange. How come it moves across the world but not into United States? Is an induced disease. For food, national food security control. The structure of food security has become better than creating Second and Third World War. Russia has been suffering with this disease 11 years. It's entered its 12th year. Romania, a little bit more. Bulgaria, a little bit more. Going across East Asia, now in China, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, all getting hit. And these are poverty-stricken nations. But one question asked from National Food Security Group, how come we don't see it in the United States? How come we don't see it in Canada? Governments are using national food securities very much like a, you know, there is a say, I love the way Caroline says it sometimes, is people tell you what they're going to do to you. People who talk chemical warfare, chemical whatever, they accuse Syria of it, Iran of it, Iraq of it, because they're using it themselves. And now introduction of chemical on agriculture has taken root. It's more powerful than moving armies. As a member of Universal Council, you have to open your eyes, see what we see. These are matters which, as a member of the councils, you have to be aware of and make one united, what do you call it, organization that is understood. The real war, chemical warfare is going on in the food industry, in agriculture. It's past war across the nations and selling arms. It's a new tool. And you need it 3 times a day to feed the stomach of the people. National food security very soon moves out of feeding. Very soon. There's a lot of programs going in the background. which means in a coming time, we will apply the new technology in transfer of energy than transfer of food. Those of you who are familiar with the work of Foundation should understand it very clearly. It's going to be tested in the coming weeks, where we pick up, we choose environments, areas that people don't feel like eating, because we substitute all the food within the environment. It's part of the transfer of space technology, is not to interfere. But the bigger implication of it is big cities don't need to enter food. You buy food if you would like to choose something. Then do the grains work, do the control of harvest control works. We are very advanced in this progress, very, very advanced. Go back to the original KF SSI Keshe and the Spaceship Institute. He says we carry no food, no medicine. How do you think it's going to happen? If we can do it there, we can do it here. And we have shown that it can be done. I was with Keshe Foundation, Knowledge Seeker, and there's a number of them, not one or two, that they have not eaten any food for 7 months. They just drink water, no loss of weight, perfectly. They live a normal life. They are more active than they used to eat food. And I said to him, "You're eating some fruit." He said, "Mr. Keshe, in front of you, I cannot eat nothing. At least I have to keep myself busy." When you speak to this group, they feel no hunger. They don't have no desire to eat. They don't think about food. This is a part of it. This is as part of the full national security, is what I said in teachings. We're going to bring in structure that in emergencies, disasters, we can cover people. The technology is not a dream, it's already in our hand.
Mr. Keshe, I can vouch for this also. This is John here.
Yes. How?
Well, I practically don't eat a thing. I just eat a bit of bread just to keep my stomach, the volume of the small volume in the stomach, but nothing else.
Do you know, one guy said to me, "Mr. Keshe, if you have this technology, why are you sitting here eating with us?" I said, "It's a pleasure to be with humans." I'm going to leave you. I'm going to go quiet and I'll leave you the council. I just came in to see things and to add some knowledge.
Thank you very much for helping to clarify the document there, Mr. Keshe, and flesh it out and make it much fuller.
Mr. Keshe, before you leave, I had a couple questions. I guess he left.
I'm here, I'm just listening. I don't participate, but I listen, no problem.
Okay. I live in America. And I've, in spirit, seen...
Can I say something? Sorry, not to be rude. How unfortunate.
Well, I know how disruptive things are going to be. And I know how corrupt our politicians are, and the program that they have is not to feed the people, but to kill them, 90% by their own words. But I just have a question if dealing in American agriculture, because we are somewhat free market, that the working with the organics, which is it's a subdivision of our agriculture, but it's a large one. And I have a friend who is a doctorate, an agriculturist, and he's part of who certifies all organic things in the United States and helps write the programming that is used. Would you like me to get a hold of him or interface somehow with him and you?
It'll be perfect. We need as many ways to prove different aspects of the technology. And we don't have all the expertise in the foundation. People with expertise who Keshe Foundation supporters know will become an asset if they can do different things and prove different aspects of it or enlighten us more.
Okay. And the other question I had in putting up the factories, do you only want to put them up through government funding, or if I have funding?
We are doing both. We are doing both. Both.
Okay. Okay.
If the funding is available, we at the moment a large number of contracts have been signed by government and private ventures. It started from last week. A lot of things are moving, and it's both. It cannot be one, because there is one thing for 100% sure, not 99%. I've been there twice. I've lost 2 of my companies to nationalization in the past. The Keshe Foundation will touch the fabric of the society, be it the water, material, food, health, and others. Anything which we are not with government will be nationalized. Or the profit of it is so high that the what I call ministerial cabinet structure will go for it. They see it as their private bank account.
Well,
for this reason, pardon?
One of the things that I thought about is with large production and a great deal of excess, especially where, because of mechanization and just the changing of the times, it makes it really unnecessary for a lot of human beings to be working. They're going to be displaced. So I would think that being a public or a private company, we have the resources to put it right back into the community and housing and production and the rest of the stuff that actually make life blissful for mankind, and then give them time to actually be educated in the new things and the new epochs that we're in.
So carry on.
So I think, you know, if we come in with a, or I'm coming in with a spirit of giving and building, and I think the only way that I can keep out of the clutches of the government is to put up structure where I'm part of the commons and land trust. And because of what I have created and we have created in bringing manifestation and physicality, that if we give it away and just keep on creating and building, I don't think we're going to have any problem with being nationalized, because we are the nation.
Yes, but at the moment we have to look at our officials' mentality. if you are a private company or organization who have the finances to set, if you have it, we deliver you a factory in 12 weeks time. You're setting up that way.
We just
if the finances
that's my wish.
So if the finances are there, in 12 weeks we can deliver, because everything has been done. We have a blueprint factory set up.
And what was it, 30 million?
For 2,000 units is 30 million. For 4,000 units, 4,000 units, which delivers on about 12,000 liters of gas a day, it costs around about 60 million euro, which is $75 million, excluding land and what do you call it, building.
Okay. So, and now, would the cost be the same if it's built in Africa or if it's built in Australia?
It's standard. It's a standard blueprint. You know, when it's a blueprint factory, what it means.
Right. Yeah.
We take a key, within 12 weeks, we give the key.
Okay.
You understand? It's not the machinery. It's everything included. It's like a McDonald's. You pay McDonald's $2.5 million and you give them the shop and they give you, doesn't matter if it's more or less there, because what it costs.
Right.
The wiring, the cleaning, the tiles, everything else included.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah. Blueprint factory. In America, we reckon in America you need about 300 to 500 units.
Well, my wish is
of need.
My wish is to put up 3 factories.
I know. We are ready to go. We are ready to go. There are other things in the background. And as I said, we do not discuss anymore. If you have such opportunity, you know the channels, you can get in touch with me, or I can add you in the direction. And then we can talk, we can deliver. In Arizona, we are ready to move.
Fabulous. One last question. With the agriculturalist, I'll contact him, and then how do I interface him?
I'll send you, if you have a Telegram, I'll send you an invitation.
Oh, I don't have a Telegram yet.
You better just go on the Google, just put Telegram app.
I will do that.
It takes 1 minute to load it, and I'll send you, I have your private number, I'll send it to you.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, thank you very much.
Peace.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The process has to be understood. I'm trying to do something which today's a Universal Council meetings with public. What I'm trying to do is to give credibility and strength to Universal Council. And it is your job, or the members of the Universal Council job, to take this up, to understand. It's part of the progress. It wasn't there yesterday. How come it's there? Because we didn't have the opportunities and the strength of it. In a very short coming time, you will see how your work will come up. But it needed a lot of work. It needed, I brought the technology, I taught the technology, I have proven the technology. Now I have to submit the technology to be accepted. When I say I, is all of us, not me. Because every single one of us becomes one. It's one nation. We work as one group. And it's been there. A lot has been done. And today, when the report was completed, I asked it to be hard copied. And it's like a magazine. It's a beautiful hardback magazine. And it's so powerful. I said to the Keshe Foundation, the head of Keshe Foundation in China, I said, now, this is power. And this is the power you carry as nation, as Chinese Keshe Foundation. Because when it's on the internet, it's just a page people read. This is tangible document, and it's so prestigious that no one can put a hair in it. And it's your achievement. I can facilitate. This is, as we say, we become older, part of the structure. And it's for Universal Council to deliver and get trust in their work. This afternoon, within minutes, the report was completed. It was in the hand of a number of world governments, ministers, cabinet ministers, prime ministers. It's no use for me to send the saving of the pig to the Iranian government. They laugh, we have no pigs. But those who are in Western Europe, in the next few weeks, you will see restrictions on the movement of pigs. Today in China is in the press that the disease has entered the food chain. In testing all the pork or pork products, dumplings, 100% from 30 different suppliers show the African fever virus in all of them. Governments cannot penalty anyone because they don't have a solution. And we know for a fact from our tests that this will mutate. We have mutated it ourselves to see if it can be done. And now you can imagine all the people around the world who've been eating pig, and this thing mutates. We have mutated through understanding the power of the knowledge. It cannot be done so easily. Then you will see a lot of Christians will die across the world. Muslims will have no effect because they don't touch anything which comes through the pork. It's a very, very shocking things I see in the background. I remember in 1976, 77, going back a long time ago, nearly 40 years ago, I was a student in Manchester, and we had a Jordanian guy in our classroom. And for the first time, the bacon flavored crisps was introduced into the market. It had no bacon in it. They confirmed there was no bacon in it. But none of the Muslims will touch this. And we used to bother this guy a lot. We used to put a pack in front of us. It says, no, it's bacon. It says, there's no bacon in it. It's just the feel of it, the name of it to him was unclean. And now we'll see what this is going to play. This swan pig flu, deliberately introduced, is not accidental. We have proof of it. Is going to play chaos. You got to understand, every year is claiming 10 to 20% of the pig farming in Russia for 11 years. It's crippled the farming in Russia. This is why we cannot speak to governments. We got to understand negotiation has to come through Universal Council, not through Keshe Foundation. Keshe Foundation is a tool for Universal Council to show solutions as one nation, not as Keshe Foundation based in Holland. I'm going to go in the background. I'll be here if you need me, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe.
This is Moshek. I want to add a little bit to the not feeding part. There are many people here that are listening to the public workshop, and they have tried a version of the Gans water. And these are young people, like who play soccer and cricket, that kind of football, and that kind of game. And they said that if they drink the water, they don't have to eat anything unless they see a food. I mean, they don't think about food until they see something. So they don't get hungry all day, but you know, sometimes they face food and then they can contain themselves. It's the habit. But otherwise, they're quite doing quite well, and they're very surprised by this fact. So it's happening all over.
You bringing this subject up, we have done a large number of sports people support, and we can release even name of the sportsmen who have achieved recognition, world recognition, who have received natural development, another enhancement, through use of the GANS technology. It does support sportsmen very much, but they have to understand how, and it can be added to their supplement. Is the recovery of the, what do you call it, energy in the cell is not something that you drink and you run. It's a long-term program. It's not something that can do, and they have to understand what to do. Because a lot of injuries, sports people are sports people as long as they can be on the field to show their talent. And a lot of sports people spend their time on injury time. You see a lot of top athletes, top sports people move off the fields. We don't see them, but we got so many people, we don't hear them. Then you hear the guys back after 2 years. We have reduced the time of injuries by 90%. And some sports people using it recovered during the sports itself. I've done a lot of work with famous sports people, and we have 2 or 3 names of winners. And even there's been cases they do not understand how this has happened, and the sports people do not disclose that it's just the water they're drinking. And one has been penalized because he doesn't do it. He says, I'm not just, they've tried everything. They've taken the water up the course of the tournament from him. They taste everything. They can't see anything. It affects very directly sports people. It affects anybody, human being. If you put drinking of a gas water in a specific way, not just randomly, in a specifically on daily basis, you can reduce the aging. You can reduce illness. There's a lot you can do, but you have to know what you're doing and what fits you in what shape and form. It's been used by one of the most famous sportsmen in the world. If I put his name out, you're going to be shooting. It was used because his doctor could not find a speed to recover him. And the recovery is very, very fast. So when you speak about the sports, I can give you a full list of, we've done a lot of trials and a lot of people. If you look at the Vatican, it's been used in Vatican by the Pope. You are very open about it. The Vatican can deny it. They never denied it. The system was built by Armand and Marco, and it was immediately used, and we saw the Pope walking in the streets of Rome. The technology is well known by the world leaders. It wasn't that we went there. I was in a meeting in Rome, near the Vatican, in a television, what do you call it, station, and the what do you call the messenger from the Vatican or whatever, he walked in, he said he knew who I was, and he said, Padre is asking you for help. We tried everything in all the hospitals we have. You have the technology, can you help? They are most probably in the bedroom of the Pope. Read about the history of the Padre not being able to walk because of the problem, painful problem in his knees. Go on the internet while I'm here to see for the first time he walked in Rome and created a massive traffic jam because he couldn't walk in public before that.
He only has one lung.
Pardon?
He only has one lung. One lung of his was extracted years ago.
Yeah. But he has a huge, many world leaders, that when we tell you, you got to understand when we ask, if you remember in 2014 or 2014, 15, when we made a call to meet with the Vatican, many people were in Rome. We requested for a meeting on a Friday, and we were in the house of the Pope on Monday at 11 o'clock within 3 days. We are well known by the world government. Our work is well known. Otherwise, you try to call and try to see the Pope and I'll see you. The governments look beyond slander. They look at the realities of what has been delivered. This time I'm going to go quiet. Sorry about this. I'll leave it to you.
I'm sure more questions.
But please finish this document. Looks beautiful. Just finish it up, but don't expand it more. That they can read one page. They have it.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion to keep it all on one page. We have Jiman with his hand up here. Maybe he'd like to speak. And I'm wondering if we should bring the document back, Mashfek, or are you still there with that?
Hello.
G-Man, yes, go ahead.
All right, I'll bring the document up.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, it's Jamon. How are you, everybody? It's so nice to see and hear a lot more on the agriculture, which interests me a lot. I had a question from Mr. Cash. There is a person that I like to try helping that had a sport injury and paralyzed, neck down. Now it's past. As more than a year and a half that I am aware of it, or year and a half. It's a young lady, and it's a friend of a friend, and I just wanted to ask for suggestions. What sort of ganses would be more effective if I want to use? I want to make coils something maybe set under the bed and the side of the bed and under the bed for yes, a spinal injury.
Yeah, it's a medical question. We usually don't deal with medical questions here. We generally do deal with that in that kind of thing with the doctors of the Keshe Foundation.
Okay, excellent.
It's hard for Mr. Keshe to make a recommendation on general information and without knowing the specifics of the case and all of that sort of thing. And he's not a medical doctor, of course. Mr. Keshe, do you want to say something about that, or I don't want to put words in your mouth? Although he did say he wanted to go quiet, so not sure. Let's see if he's still here.
I guess I'll go on with the experiment.
Actually,
with small.
He's not here right now, apparently.
I'm probably gonna start with the pain pen and start small and see the effects. Work my way from there on.
I'll give you some hint in terms of what you will need to search in, kind of. Like, you can search in some of the knowledge seeker workshop on paralysis or things like that, and you will be able to find stuff, the transcripts.
The transcripts on the website.
Yeah, some of the transcripts are available, and you can search for paralysis and you'll find something.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, Jalal. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I would like to give some flower to the Universal Council. My small, tiny flower. Can I share picture?
Okay. Let me see. You have to.
No. I will open only the video camera.
Oh, that flower. Okay. Yes. Okay. Before you raise the camera, tell us the story. Set us up for this for people that don't know.
This one I have it since 2 years, and wait a minute. And normally it grows to 24 to 26 centimeter, and it will stay until in this condition in here in Sweden, because it's very cold and it is inside the flower. It will stay until maximum April. And I give her love, and our love is the plasma. And she stayed with me for these 2 years. And this year, she wants to go higher and give you guys love and appreciation. And I would like to send her love to you. And we said it will open up in Mars. Yes, last time we spoken before last plasma reactor group.
Yes, I think I recall that.
Yeah, on Wednesday. And I will show you guys now. it's already opened before 2-3 days. And you see the flower, how big is it? And this is not yet opened wide. And it captured 100 centimeter and 105 centimeter.
And I think we read that normally these plants grow up to about half that height, or up to 60 centimeters, I think they mentioned.
Yes, maximum to 60 centimeter. And this is the, what do you call it? Springtime. And there is another different kind. It will goes, what we have it here in this part is about to 26 centimeter max. And this one would like to go more. So this is for you, US Council. Let them be that.
Very nice.
Let them be that, Rick.
Let them be that?
Yeah, let them beat it.
Ah, okay, beat that, yeah. Well, there's the perfect example of the 50% extra growth that we mentioned earlier in the document that we were arguing about, whether it be 20 or 30 or 50. In this case, it's more like it's almost 100% more. It's probably more like 80% more growth or something like that.
And you see the black road, this one, the black one. It is original. It will go to this height, not more.
Well, I guess it jumped over that bar pretty quick.
Okay, thank you.
Very nice, Joel. Thanks for the good news there. Should make that into some sort of, put it in the testimonial site would be good.
Yeah.
A few pictures showing the progression, especially that flower is perfect.
We have it for 2 years. Yeah, I will put them all 3 videos together.
Commander Rick.
Yes, I guess you're addressing me.
Yes, I am. Let me give me what do you call it? Video for just a second, because I want to show you a plant that is on its 3rd year and it's about to flower. It's an eggplant, and eggplants are a seasonal plant, and this is going on its 3rd year.
Okay, I think let me see if you have to do something special. I think we'll have to promote you as a panelist first. And I think you can start your video now.
There you go. Let's see, make sure I have the camera in the right direction. Nope, wrong direction. Okay, there it is. This thing is going, like I said, it's on its 3rd year, and it's going to be producing like crazy real soon. And I still have peppers growing and tomatoes, and that just doesn't happen around here. And all I didn't make any GANs. What I did is when I built the container, I put nano-coated copper all around the interior, both on the top, the bottom, and that's what I did, plus just giving it some love. I'm going to turn this off.
May I ask again, sorry, and good evening to everyone. Did you put nano-coated copper where? Exactly?
All through the box here.
The side walls of the box.
The side walls of the box. And then I have just some nano-coated wire right here. And I have some coils around, and that's what I did. And it's sort of blown me away, 3 years.
Indeed, it's remarkable. Yeah, congratulations. It's very nice, especially for an area where you don't see tomatoes. Great.
Well, we grow tomatoes here, but not in the wintertime. And I have never, until I put the copper-coated wire around here, the nano-coated wire, I'd never had a eggplant that would survive the winter, even if it was covered. And I've been growing them for over 20 years here.
Interesting, Dean. Maybe you'll have to set up a booth at the agricultural fair next time around.
At the agricultural fair by the time next year, I'm going to put it in as my wish that the factory will be up and producing, and that we have a presence there.
Wouldn't that be great to have a booth and pamphlets and products and so on there, and be able to talk about the progress? Yeah, perfect.
Well, when you can have 36,000 people in one day come through, that's a lot of people to be able to touch.
Yeah, and they're all interested parties. That's the big thing about it. They've already selected themselves to be interested in the products and the services that are being shown there.
Well, it was pretty incredible. When I was there, just a little story, I got to sit by two representatives from FFA, which is the Future Farmers of America. And I'd asked them, had you seen President Trump's message to them? Because it was a really good message. And they said, yes, we were sitting in the front row. Anyway, I'll get out.
Good one. I sent you a document, Dean, in the Q&A there, or link to it. And I just happened to notice, I searched the internet for, you could turn off your microphone there. The birds are quite verbal.
Okay. Yes, they are.
They want to get their say in too. You're talking about all the farm animals. What about us birds? But there's a list of from the Canadian government on the permitted substances for organic production systems. And I wanted to see what the standards were and for getting certified for organic. And it turns out on the list, sure enough, one of the permitted substances is copper oxide, and another permitted substance is zinc oxide. And also sodium hydroxide is one of the very few substances that you're allowed to use in certain processes, as well as potassium hydroxide. And I'm starting to put two together here, and maybe there is a chance that the GANs or the GANs water, or both, or some of the GANSs perhaps, could be certified organic. And I think that would be such a foot in the door for the Keshe Foundation if they can show that this substance is, by the definition of the organic councils and standards, it qualifies as organic. And that way, because organic is got a between a 50 and 60%, or between 50 and 100% increase every year in its production is the way of the future. In a way, Russia has just claimed they want to become #1 in the world for exporting organic produce. This is a very big deal. So if we can get certified as organic, that the whole plasma process can be certified as organic, that would be so terrific. So I'm putting up a bit of a challenge for you there, Dean, or at least an offer to, if you can follow through on that with your friend there maybe, or somebody else you know.
I'm going to do it today. There's something else that I just thought of that hasn't been mentioned. When you take and you double the produce that comes off of an area, you also are taking out the salts in the soil. And salts build up in the soil, at least for here, are a real problem. And the only way we can export the salt is to grow stuff which then uptakes the salt and export it out of here.
Yeah, that's another good way to look at it. Okay, we're up and coming very close to 4 hours in our show here, and we probably should wrap things up, especially before the 4-hour mark. Is there any other comments, questions, or suggestions that people have here?
Yes, hello. It's Christian
Hello.
again. I just want to add to your dream, to your wish, concerning the ecological recognition of plasma technology. You know, I've orchards here, and I've asked the control instances what has to be done for it, because I think it's the most old and the most renowned and experienced companies to certify we have here in Germany, because we.
Sorry, what was that called again? So what was it called? Cirex or something?
Certified? Okay, I'm talking about certification for plasma technology in agriculture.
Right. You had the name of a company or name of
there is about 30 of these companies in Germany. They have governmental approval to check all the land that is being that use organically or some other methods. There's different methods of ecological agriculture in Germany. And they told me that as long as there's no substance being used in the earth or at the plants, for example, because you use balls with GANs, water or something, it's no problem at all. And even if you use water for the seeds, as long as it's water, they don't care at all. So it can be used in ecological agriculture without any problem. But it's new to me that even the substances you named, that they are okay. I didn't know that, but I didn't ask for that. And I tried to contact ecological institutes in Germany about, because I had the idea to create a connection between agriculture, ecological agriculture, and plasma technology. I think it would be great, but all of them, they didn't really react. They didn't answer. It's very difficult in Germany. But this was exactly my idea, what you were talking about, because I think it's the best thing we can have. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just pull that document up here for a couple of minutes and show you what I meant by it while we have that topic here. I think it is quite important going forward into the future. Let me see here. Still not sharing properly.
We see organic production systems.
Oh, okay. It's not highlighting my window for some reason.
Yeah, just try it again. We see about 2/3 of it.
Make it smaller. Oh, maybe it's, well, it's within the window. Let me just, let's stop share me, because that'll work for me. I see a different window, this one. Here, okay, you can see that, right? Okay, so this is from the Government of Canada. Put the link into the chat there. And it's Organic Production Systems Permitted Substances List. So this is for, certification and standards. And if we go through into the actual list, after all the preliminaries here, there's actually a list for crop production and permitted substances for livestock production, for preparation for cleaners, disinfectants, and sanitizers, and for the facility management. So if we go, for example, to this is for the crop production, permitted substances list for crop production. And we go into, they've got all kinds of things. Like, for example, they mention amino acids in the A category, but it shall be from non-synthetic sources. They're considered non-synthetic if they are A, produced by plants, animals, and microorganisms, and extracted or isolated either by hydrolysis or other non-chemical means, for example, physical extraction. So that's the amino acids that we use may or may be qualified depending on the technical definition of the way they look at it. If you keep going through here, they do have ash, for example. Ash has been part of the processes of the Keshe Foundation for making nanomaterials and so on. It says it shall be from plant and animal sources, cannot exceed certain levels of heavy metals and so on. Can't be from burning minerals, manure, paper, and whatnot. So the ash is totally acceptable, as well as the biochar, which is pyrolysis of wood. If we keep going down, it mentions that certain calcium sources are acceptable, for example, shells and so on. And if we look at that with combining it with other thing they mentioned about compost, and it has to be, know where it comes from. Now it comes to copper. They mention copper here specifically, and says the following copper products may be used to correct documented copper deficiencies: copper sulfate, basic copper sulfate, copper oxide, and copper oxysulfate. They mentioned the prohibited ones are copper ammonia, copper nitrate, and cuprous chloride are prohibited and should be used with caution and so on. But copper oxide is definitely mentioned as something that's actually acceptable in this particular instance. Let me see, there was some more here. They mention humates, humic acid, and fulvic acid, which may be part of the things that we create in the Keshe Foundation processes. And they're permitted if certain processes are used in that. What else was here? There was Mentions potassium sources that are permitted and specifically says potassium chloride, KCl, is permitted, which is sometimes used. Seaweed and seaweed products are okay. So assuming salt water would be as well. They mention zinc. The zinc was the other one. And so zinc oxide is permitted. So between the copper oxide and the zinc oxide, you would think that the basic CO2 kit and any results from that should be permitted according to all the parts of that are fully permitted in the organic charts. So it seems to me that that those items specifically could be used. Now, it also in this list of what is this crop production aids and materials, it mentions I can find it here. Again, mentions copper oxide and copper hydroxide. So any of our copper again should be acceptable. Okay, this looking for coming close to what I'm looking for here. It mentions sodium hydroxide here, or our favorite NaOH. Can't find exactly where it's mentioned again, but it mentions that one of the only solvents that can be used is sodium hydroxide. So if I can just find where it is here. They mention it here. This is in for animals, sodium hydroxide for use in dehorning paste. Interesting. We had a horn problem in a goat recently, and that's actually good information. But it goes on. You can look at the chart here, and those that are trying to see if we can get the GANs certified as organic, actually genuinely certified, can look into this more and find that it seems like all the parts of what we use are basically there. It mentions sodium hydroxide here as one of the substances that can be used. Doesn't mention uses in particular in this particular chart. There's other charts as well. There's the animals, there's the vegetables and so on, and different uses here. So we're getting a little short on time, but I just wanted to put that in people's minds that might be getting into this whole area. Okay, maybe we can go back to your screen share there, Flint. Just repost that link. That should work there. I'll post it in the live stream as well. And of course, every country might have different certifications for organic, and you can check your own country's list of approved substances, permitted substances list, it's called. Hey, any other comments before we sign off here? Caroline, you still with us?
Yes, I am, Rick. And thank you, team, for a beautiful presentation. Thank Mr. Keshe for the additional necessary information to put things in order. I hope that the people are requesting the availability of the document that has been worked on today. So where will they be able to have access to that document? Do you already know where this document will appear?
The one that Moshfek had today, that he was showing today.
Yeah.
Moshfek, do you have an answer for that, or somebody else from the UC people?
I can talk a little bit about it, but as we have talked about this earlier, we will add a little bit at the bottom, sort of like in letter form, and then it will be made to look better with some of the artwork, and then it will be available after that. So we are not that far away from it, but it needs a little more work, and it needs to be look a little more official as well. So once we are there, and then after the final review, it will be available. But people can get ideas from it already, and the process of initiating contact can start, because it will involve some verbal communication with people, particularly like the Ministry of Agriculture. One of the suggestions we have talked about is to contact kind of at the secretary level. So they're kind of like the people who below the minister level essentially execute the top level of the decision-making process. And so if people are interested, they can start the process, and we'll have this ready shortly, I think. This is how we'll go, I think. And we'll have a discussion with the Universal Council and finalize all the last details, and come back and perhaps present it next time or shortly thereafter.
Thank you very much.
That sounds good.
Thank you, Rick, Flint, and Vince, and all the knowledge seekers for the beautiful presentation for today. See you next time.
Okay, thank you, Caroline, and thank you for your words of wisdom to start off the whole conversation here today. And thanks to Mr. Keshe for coming in and clarifying the document and expanding it as he does so well. And thanks to everybody for participating in today's 67th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace on Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Thank you everyone for being here. I am present. Bye for now. We'll see you next week and in the Knowledge Seekers Workshop.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshfoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshfoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.